Greetings, viewers. JLB here, back with another special movie discussion for Animation Cinema. But before I get going, I have a very special guest that I would like you to meet. And, well, here he is. His name is... Oh, not his name, her name, sorry. Her name is Sarah. Sarah the Centipede. And where she's from... she's kind of misunderstood, like some bugs. But the reason I introduce my special guest is because, well, the movie we're talking about deals with bugs. So, if you're not that big a bug person, you better not watch this video. But for everyone else, today we're going to be discussing Paramount's second animated feature, Mr. Bug Goes to Town. Now, see, the story of Mr. Bug Goes to Town was supposed to be an adaptation of Maurice Maeterlinck's The Life of a Bee, but unfortunately, the rights to the book couldn't be gained, and more importantly and more rightfully, Paramount was willing to purchase the rights from Samuel Goldwyn. So instead, they fashioned their own modern take of the story into Mr. Bug Goes to Town. It basically follows Hoppity the grasshopper, who's played by Stan Freed, as he returns to an American city. But he soon finds that it's not exactly as he left it. So basically the film just follows him trying to deal with the changes going around in town, and ultimately trying to get the love of his life. I haven't personally seen this movie, but if it's made by Paramount, it's gotta be a decent film, right? If you remember one of my previous videos, you remember that Paramount actually did create a film called Gulliver's Travels, based on the story of Gulliver's Travels. Now, they did such an impressive job with that movie in its first week alone that Paramount President, or then Paramount President, Barney Balabon, ordered for another movie to be made for the 1941 Christmas season. Now, Mr. Bug Goes to Town is similar in concept to Gulliver's Travels, with its cast of large characters, complex crowd scenes, and the contrasting scale of tiny little characters against the gigantic humans. In the story of Mr. Bug, the environment is central to the picture. While the lead characters, Hoppity the grasshopper and the love of his life, Honeybee, they don't really lead the story as clearly as Disney characters do, like, say, in Pinocchio or Snow White or Dumbo. It's the situation that propels the plot, combined with colorful supporting comical characters, that makes this film shine. However, all wasn't right at Paramount Studio, because this film was made by the Fleischer brothers, who, as I mentioned in my last video, made Gulliver's Travels, or helped to make Gulliver's Travels, and they would also go on to create, well, Paramount, I think, would also go on to make the Superman cartoons of the 40s during the wartime era, World War II. But ultimately, Paramount was aware of the problems that were going on between Max and Dave Fleischer, and they structured their contract for the competition in a rather unusual way, allowing for the resignation of either brother following the film's completion. So yeah, when the film was completed, one brother had to leave, be it either Max or Dave Fleischer. Kind of a lopsided thing when it came to this sort of film. But anyway, when Paramount renewed the Fleischer contract on May 24th, 1941, they that the brothers deliver signs of resignation to Paramount to be used at the studio's discretion. Ultimately, the film concluded in Hollywood just before Thanksgiving, and ultimately Dave Fleischer ended up being the one leaving Paramount just a month before the film came out. Now, this was the very first animated film to give screen credit to actors. That's right, voice actors got their due with Mr. Bug Goes to Town. The voices were provided by actor Stan Freed, who played Hoppity, and Pauline Loff, who played Honey. Supporting characters were voiced by various studio staff members, including Jack Mercer, who was the voice of Popeye, as Mr. Bumble and Swat the Fly, and storyman Ted Pierce, who played C. Bagley Beetle, Carl Meyer, who played Smack the Mosquito, Pentel Kovic, who played Mr. Creeper, Margie Hines, who played Mrs. Ladybug, and Mae Ketzel, who played Buzz the Bee Scout. Plus, singer Kenny Gardner and actress Gwen Williams portrayed the human ones. Yeah, kind of a strange concept if you happen to be in comparing yourself to one of the characters from the movie, but regardless. The only human characters were songwriter Dick Dickens and his wife Mary. Now, the film came out on December 5th, 1941, in advance of its scheduled Christmas release. Of course, it was well received by critics. Theater operators, they didn't really like it. They rejected it. And just 2 days later, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, thus bringing the United States into World War II. And of course, well, this caused Paramount to cancel the Christmas release. And ultimately, 3 weeks later, Paramount president Barney Balaban activated Max Fleischer's resignation. And, well, long story short, the Fleischer brothers were gone. Paramount reorganized Fleischer Studios as Famous Studios. And that's when they started producing the Superman cartoons, which I grew up with. Now, before the film's release, Walter Lantz, the guy who created Woody Woodpecker, Paul Terry, and Leon Schlesinger, I believe his name is, all considered producing animated feature films, but after seeing the disappointing box office of this film, and the initial failures of Walt Disney's 2 films of the 40s, Pinocchio and Fantasia, both in 1940, they canceled any potential animated feature productions, which is kind of a shame, really. I mean, it would be several years later before we got a Woody Woodpecker movie. But like I said, Mr. Bug, financial disaster. Ultimately, Mr. Bug was given the rename of Hoppity Goes to Town, which was sort of a parody of the title of the 1936 feature film Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Now, the film cost $713,511 1940s to make, but by 1946, it only made back $241,000. Oh, kind of a poor box office release if you think about it. And ultimately, well, let's just say that it would be several years before a new movie starring Bugs as the main characters would be released. And of course, I'm talking about A Bug's Life. But in all consideration, I think Mr. Bug, or Hoppity, if you will, Goes to Town, actually deserves a bit of a second chance. I mean, if you liked watching Gulliver's Travels, if you haven't, then it's definitely worth your time. If you haven't seen Gulliver's Travels and you want to know what Paramount movies were made of, I think it's worth a watch. But for everyone else, take it as you will. Haven't personally seen it, but I do plan to find a copy and watch it. Anyway, thanks for joining me, everyone, and stay tuned, because in the next video we're going to be talking about the next year in animation history, in cinema, of course. But until then, good night, everybody.